Hey guys, I'm servicing a sprinkler valve that continues to get stuck on, so I need to open it up and basically clear the inside of it. I'm sure I'm going to find a whole bunch of sand and grit, which is basically making it so that the valve will not seat when I tell it to seat. So one thing I'll do just to get started is to remove the solenoid. You see a little bit of sand in there. Solenoid looks pretty good though. It's not super necessary to take the solenoid off and the bleeder screw, but I like doing it just because I'm thorough. And sometimes that solenoid will get in the way of me twisting things, and I don't want to break that solenoid or cause any issues with the threads. Now I just come through, find each screw, give it a quarter turn. This will also be the same way that I put it back together. So once I got them all loosened, I just keep working my way around. Definitely take your time with it. Don't be wrenching or ripping things off. This has not been cleaned or serviced for a long time. It's very evident because it will not let go. Make sure they're all loosened. You could even go as far as removing all the screws and set them to the side. That way you know nothing's grabbing. I'll show you guys how to put the screws on, and with a very low risk of cross threading, which is super important. Do not want to cross thread your valve. If you cross thread your valve, it's very likely you're buying a whole new valve. There it is. Jeez. So that'll bleed out, which is fine. I already tell you for sure this thing has been hammered. You can see sort of the wear and tear on here. Even here we're breaking a little bit, so we got to be really careful when we pull this bladder off not to rip this thing in half. It's definitely old. I might have to just replace this bladder. Just not the end of the world. I'd rather not, but it's not the end of the world. I don't have one with me, which means I'd have to go somewhere. If you use half a brain and a little bit of patience, shouldn't have to replace everything we touch. You know what I'm saying? This thing is on here. I don't think this has ever been taken apart before. There we go. Got it to come off a little bit. Just take your time. The only thing the good old Lord has given us is time. Use that shit. It looks pretty clean. I don't know why it's sticking, but given how tight this bladder is, you can see the sand and grit inside. Look at that. See that? So having that sand and grit in there definitely is a risk. You see even more on this side. Definitely will risk the valve getting stuck, causing your sprinklers to run indefinitely, or until the good old Lord decides that your grass has gotten watered enough. So all we do from here now is I'll go find a hose bib. Follow me, bud. Okay guys, so find yourself a hose bib, get in there. This spring right here, every valve's gonna have one. Do not lose it. Get in there with your fingers. Get as much of that debris away as possible. And definitely clean the sand out. Okay guys, so putting it back together, pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, please make sure you do not lose this spring. Spring helps pull, lift, and drop the bladder. You can tell how it goes on by this little notch, right? We can see the notches right here. So I just seat it in the hole, push the edges around, make sure you got a clear place for all your screws to go through. Set this on top nice and carefully. Once I get it seated, it's just one screw at a time. Now, this is where you can cross or have a cross thread issue. So what I'll do, instead of just driving this screw down, is I'll back it out until I feel it click. That's the top of the thread. Then I'll screw it down. And I only go halfway. So it's like a tire. I don't want to put too much pressure in one spot. So just like how we took it off, we just one at a time. And I already found that notch. Every single screw. I promise you, if you cross thread this, you will be replacing a whole valve, and that's not very cheap. All right guys, so once we get all the screws semi down, right? I'm not wrenched all the way down yet. I'm gonna seat it and then come crisscross, right? So I don't want to come around in a circle. If I come around and twist this down, twist this down, twist this down, we start creating a lot of pressure here, and then you get a little loose on the bladder over here, which is gonna cause a pinch, cause problems. So I always come kind of tight, come over here, kind of tight, come over here, kind of tight, and then I just crisscross. Kind of tight, kind of tight, and I'm not forcing anything, right? Once I got all the 6 of them kind of tight, I just follow that same pattern again. And you'll notice that it will slowly but surely start to seat all the way down. And I just keep that same routine until the screws stop moving, which we're getting real close. So now we're pretty tight. Now I'll go in a circle just for fun. That way, maybe I come across this way. Everything's pretty tight. They don't need to be wrenched down like super crazy, but they definitely need to be tight enough to stop the water from coming out. Check your bottom, make sure there's nothing, no debris gonna get stuck in the line. Turn that till it stops twisting. Nice little quarter turn. Good to go. And that's how you clean a valve.